the demands coming from this government union, PSAC, they want up to 47% more in pay and benefits. Those demands would cost taxpayers $9.3 billion over those 3 years.
Hey everyone, I'm Jay Goldberg. I am the Ontario Director here at the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, and I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Franco Terrazzano, who is in Ottawa and is our Federal Director. So Franco, we recently did a show about a federal union pushing for, and this is insane, a 30% wage increase over 3 years. But you're digging up info showing another federal union. They're pushing for an even bigger pay and benefit increase. Can you break it down for us?
Yeah, quite right. We thought that a 30% increase over 3 years was crazy. Well, put your coffee down, folks, because it's about to get even more crazy here. The Public Service Alliance of Canada is a huge federal government union, and PSAC is pushing for up to 47% increase in pay and benefits. Okay, that would cost taxpayers about $9.3 billion over that 3-year contract, and it's an extra $27,500 for each bureaucrat each year on average.
Okay, wait a second. So I mean, a lot of us are really thrilled with 2, 3, 4% increases, especially in this time of inflation and high costs. But you're saying 47%? This union wants a 47% pay hike?
Yeah, I mean, the PSAC, this federal government union, is pushing for up to a 47% compensation increase over 3 years. Now, Jay, it's so crazy. I couldn't believe it with my own eyes on this head right here that I had to go back and forth with the Treasury Board of Canada Secretariat, their media people, multiple times just to confirm that it is correct that they're pushing for up to 47% compensation increases over 3 years. Now, the TBS, that's the arm of the government that is handling these negotiations. They were very, they took their time with me and they confirmed many different times that is correct, up to 47% compensation hikes.
You know, Franco, so these union negotiators, they're pushing for 47% increase. Do they not realize that there's a record usage of food banks? You know, 20% of Canadians are skipping meals. They're worried about losing their homes, and 47%?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that they're pushing for up to that 47% compensation hike over 3 years. Now, again, I said PSAC is a large federal government union body, so they are negotiating for other groups. They're also pushing for a 29%, 28%, and 25% increase in compensation across their other bargaining groups over those 3 years.
Yeah, I don't know if they're thinking this is going to come off of some money tree in Ottawa or what's going on. But Franco, I want to make clear, because you're talking about wages and benefits and we're talking about compensation, but there's a lot of other really crazy benefits I think a lot of people may not realize that PSAC is pushing for. So what are these non-wage or benefit asks that these guys are going after?
And Jay, if you and I, okay, were to go to Regina and go meet with old man McKay, our boss, and ask him for some of these non-wage benefits, he would laugh us out of the room, okay? But let me just read you some direct quotes from the TBS, because this is coming out of them, the government, not me. I couldn't even believe it. So the TBS noted, quote, PSAC has a significant number of costly non-wage related demands. The union wants, quote, paid leave for family-related responsibilities from 37 and a half hours to 75 hours every year. That's 2 weeks of paid time off. And Jay is on top of, quote, 4 weeks of automatic vacation leave after 4 years of service rather than after 7 years of service, end quote. So let's say you're a recent university graduate, okay, let's say 23 years old, and you get scooped up by the federal government. Well, right now, you'd have to wait until your 30th birthday to be able to get 4 weeks of vacation. But if PSAC gets its way, that recent university graduate would be able to sip sangria on the beach for 4 weeks when they turn 27. But look, it doesn't end there. PSAC also wants, quote, all overtime paid at double time, where now it's most often paid at time and a half, end quote. And this federal government union is also pushing for bigger shift premiums and meal allowances.
Oh, man. So someone hired under like their model. We're talking at 27, they hit 4 weeks. So that's at least 4 weeks vacation. Imagine if they're staying there until they're 65. How many years we would be paying, us taxpayers, 38 years for these 4 weeks of vacation. And I'm sure that'll just go up further and further the longer they're there. So you were also talking about a meal allowance there. Last I checked, these bureaucrats were working at home in Ottawa. What are we talking about with meal allowances here?
Well, that's the question, right? That's a great question. But let's remember that PSAC, this federal government union, is the same union that called a would-be back to office order, a quote, egregious violation of workers' rights. They called a would-be back to office order an egregious violation of workers' rights. Okay, so that has me thinking here, do bureaucrats really expect taxpayers to pick up the cost of their meal if they're working from home and toddle to the fridge to get a sandwich? Okay. But look, I've been throwing a whole bunch of different stuff at you. Let's just recap some of the finer points here. Okay. So the demands coming from this government union, PSAC, they want up to 47% more in pay and benefits. Those demands would cost taxpayers $9.3 billion over those 3 years. And that's an extra 27,500 smackers for each bureaucrat each year on average.
All right, Franco, I know you're going to eviscerate me, but let me play devil's advocate for a second here. What is PSAC claiming that they really need this $27,500 each pay raise for doing the exact same job? What is the argument here? That they're claiming all this extra money is needed.
Okay, so let me just read you a direct quote from PSAC, this federal government union. Quote, wages are stalled, the cost of living is rising, and workers are being left behind, end quote. That's what they say. Okay, let's dissect that. So are government wages stalling? Are government employees falling behind? Hardly. Okay, let me read you another quote. This one from the parliamentary budget officer, the government's own independent budget watchdog. The PBO says, quote, government spending on public servant salaries and benefits is forecast to climb to almost $55 billion this year, or about $130,000 per full-time employee. Does that sound like wages are stalling to you, Jay? It doesn't to me. The PBO...
I don't think so.
The PBO also goes on to say, quote, over the past 7 years, personnel spending by the government grew by an average of 6.7% annually. And
so much for stalling.
Yeah, so much. Man, I want to get on that stalling. You know what I mean? Okay, so here's some information that the Canadian Taxpayers Federation dug up. In 2021, folks, there were 114,000 federal employees that received more than $100,000 in annual salary. Okay? That's a 163% increase since 2015. A total of 312,000 federal government employees received at least one raise in 2020 or 2021. That means that anywhere between 93 and 98% of all federal bureaucrats received at least one pay raise during the pandemic.
Yeah, I know both of us have talked about a tale of two pandemics before, and it's certainly popping up here as well. All right, Franco, it's pretty clear to me, I think everybody listening to this, that employees in Ottawa, government employees, they're doing just fine right now. But, PSAC is right that inflation is high. So what about that?
Well, okay, inflation is high. But Jay, what does more paid time off have to do with inflation? How does 4 weeks of vacation help a bureaucrat afford the price of chicken. Okay. And let's not forget here that government employees already receive an extra 9% compared to their counterparts working for a business. So the government needs to fix that before we even start talking about higher pay for federal government employees. So you know what, Jay? I think we've debunked these claims from the federal government union. It really seems to me that, well, hold on a second. Maybe these demands aren't really about stalling government wages or high inflation. Maybe these demands are really all about milking taxpayers for as much money as they can before someone derails this gravy train up here in Ottawa.
Yeah, I think that might very well be a rationale there, and I gotta hope that someone's going to derail that gravy train soon, folks. Look, you got to speak out before you're getting fleeced here as taxpayers. You got to contact your MP, have them speak up publicly against these crazy government union demands. Really contacting your MP, it does make a difference. They need to hear from people like you. And Franco, thanks so much for bringing us this story today.